Corn School is brought to you by BASF and Pride Seeds.
We're here in Ridgetown with Omafra field pathologist Albert Tenuta. Albert, I want to talk about plant disease. And a lot of times we report on Real Agriculture about fungicides, curative, preventative products, but it really starts with genetics, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. The most important decision a grower can make is selecting the proper genetics, the best genetics for those fields. And it's the basis for any IPM program that we have from a disease package. And you can see it starts with just evaluating. Here we're in our nursery here, our Northern Corn Leaf Blight Nursery. This in conjunction with Agriculture, Agri-Food Canada in Ottawa, Atlanta Reed's group. We're evaluating a number of different lines that have different resistance genes to Northern Corn Leaf Blight. We've seen with Northern Corn Leaf Blight, very typical of many different pathogens or disease systems where we see new races or pathotypes or types to start to develop. In Ontario, we're seeing 9 different races now that can bypass our most common resistance source, which is our HT1 gene, which is what we've got here in this line here. And you can see where we've inoculated these plants across. You can see these beautiful, typical Northern Corn Leaf Blight symptoms here. The plant has no understanding or can't recognize that it's being infected in that, and the pathogen is happy and it's going and causing its thing. Here on the left, we've got a line here that has a different set of resistance genes. And you can see in this case, big difference between these leaves and these. And so susceptible versus a more tolerant or resistant line. It's not to say that Northern Corn Leaf Blight or the pathogen hasn't tried to attack this. It has. We can look at some of these leaves and you can see the early onset of disease, the pathogen or the fungus trying to get in there, but it's been stopped in its tracks. It's not able to cause the damage that we see here. And ultimately for the producer, there's a potential yield impact here, whereas here you're better protected, you lower your risk to disease.
Now, Albert, you mentioned obviously there's new races coming all the time. You're doing the research here and assessing these lines. How do these lines get into commercial production and into farmers' fields?
Well, what we've been doing is in conjunction with the Grain Farmers Ontario and Growing Forwards 2, we've been doing these surveys, as you've mentioned, across the province, and other areas are doing it as well. The U.S. is doing them and that. And so some of these could be new inbreds that are just with new sources of resistance and that, but many of these genes are already available and many of the companies have them. What we're trying to do is match these genes with the local population. And in Ontario, we can see that some genes are no longer working, other genes are there. And so these genes are available in many of the commercial corn hybrids out there. It's just getting the awareness out there, getting to a better fit in terms of what hybrids now and in the future will best protect Ontario growers.